have an absolutely incredible guest today. She is actress Tina Gallo. Hey, Tina.
Hi, Jeffrey. How are you?
I'm great. It's thank you so much for coming on and telling us a little bit about you. If for those that might not know a whole lot about you, you're an actress, and you have a few other credentials as well, an acting coach, and you. Some people that might recognize you is from the General Hospital days.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
um, yeah, tell us a little bit about you. You played. Who did you play in General Hospital and about time frame?
Well, it was back in the 1980s,
Okay.
to give my age away, but no, it was back in about 1980s. I think I was on that show from latter part of 83 till 86. And my character name was Dee Dee. After departing from the show, I did not renew my contract. I had an opportunity to, but it was kind of my faith-based walk, and I had just come to the Lord, and I just really was kind of reflecting on some things and considering some things, and I felt like I just needed to take a break. So I did not re-sign my contract. And when I left that show, and all these years later, did I ever think I'd be doing anything affiliated with General Hospital? And I just got back from California. I'm featured in a magazine, and on the cover is Carolyn Hennessy, and she is currently on the show. She started back when I did, and she's left for a while on a hiatus as well, and then she's come back. And she's on the cover, and they did a 4-page feature of me. And so it was just a really cool, I felt like I was back on a time warp somehow. Back here in Hollywood, we were up at this Sky Bar, and it was just really fabulous to be together with so many people from the industry and a lot of General Hospital folks and a lot of Christians too. Even David White was out there from, he's done the God's Not Dead series, and just a lot of networking, and really good to see some folks and see a lot of Christians there as well. I was really so grateful for that. And I'm going to actually go back and do 2 episodes. I'm agreeing to, it seems like we're talking about it now. So I'm not going back on the show.
I don't say. Oh, wow.
I'm excited about that.
That is cool. Yeah. And you have a website as well? Is it?
I do have a website. Oh, that's a good idea. I actually need to put it in there. Have not.
Is the TinaGallo.com?
That is my website. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Now, so if we go back a little bit, which is the age-old question everybody always likes to know is, how did you get started? What prompted you to get started into acting? And
I never had. It was a vision from a very early age, about 3 years old, to be honest. That was my goal in life. I guess I would call it my calling at a very young age and didn't know it. I was just fascinated with the industry. I would spend a lot of Saturdays or Sundays watching the old musicals, Judy Garland, Doris Day, Anne Margaret. I just loved everything about the industry as a young girl, the entertainment industry. As a young teenager, older teenager, about 18, 19 years old, I actually went on the road with Mr. Frank Sinatra selling his novelties. And of course, I'm thinking, that's my in. Here comes my Oscar, woo, Frank Sinatra. It doesn't really work that way. Who you know is helpful, but you really have to find out if you have any talent. And that's what I was told. After 2.5 years on the road with him, I had asked Mr. Sinatra's best friend, Jilly Rizzo, and he had said, you got to find out if you have any talent, kid. And I said, well, how do I do that? We didn't have social media in the day. I didn't know anything about Googling or anything. So I had to do my research. I was so naive at the time, I didn't even know there were acting schools. But after doing my research, I decided, he told me either LA or New York, and did a lot of research the way that I knew how at the time. And New York seemed to be the place for me, because what I felt about New York is it was really about the craft. It wasn't so much your looks. And I did not want to be another blonde, pretty blonde in California, falling into this group that might get a few roles, and then I might disappear. And I just didn't want to be in that category. And so I really wanted to learn the craft and everything about it. And so I went to some of the major schools in New York and started there. Got to work with the masters of the Stanislavski technique. And I became a lifetime member to the Actors Studio, which is very difficult to get into. I'm so proud of that looking back now. And, I started my work in New York as under 5, did commercials. I worked a lot of theater, which is where I really grew. And then I worked my way out to LA when I had enough under my belt, wanted to get on the show, General Hospital, made my way out there and made that happen.
After you left General Hospital, what happened then?
Well, while you're on the show, Hollywood's small town. It's like any industry. You're in, becomes a little more of a smaller community. So I started doing other shows as guest appearances because that's just what would happen. You would get invited to make guest appearances. So I did things like The Love Boat and Murder, She Wrote, and, shows like that. They were popular shows in the day. And then I did the new Mike Hammer show with Stacy Keach under Jay Bernstein Productions. And so I did a lot of work, continued to do work. But then when I really came to the Lord and made that decision, where I was at the time, I just didn't feel like I could do both. And I was really getting into the party scene in the 80s. I was really into health and nutrition. But at the same time, cocaine was everywhere. It was like the glamour drug. I was never addicted to drugs or anything, but I definitely dabbled. And usually we were doing that to make sure we stayed 10 pounds underweight to look good on camera. So just stupid choices and things like that. And I just needed to get out of the atmosphere. And so I felt that's what I needed to really do for myself. And so I did not re-sign that contract, as I said, and I went back to New Jersey and I went home for a while. And then fast forward, later on, I wound up getting married and had children and decided probably never going back to my career. Of course, I missed it. My heart was always there. But my focus at that time was raising my family, growing as a Christian. And I always say your gift will find you. And God called me back probably around 2015. I'm doing mostly faith-based, but not only. It's amazing to see what God is doing. I'm really just following what the Lord has for me. I want to be absolutely where He has me. And so I'm not only doing faith-based. A lot of my older connections in the industry, I'm not even having to audition. What's really great right now. Roles are coming to me, but I've got some opportunities coming up to be on series that are just at least good messages. Yeah. Maybe not fully what I would say a faith-based production, but good messages.
Now you're a teacher now.
The Lord called me to teaching. Never woke up and decided to be a teacher one day. He called me around probably 2018. And it's been absolutely a great gift. I always say your gift finds you, and my gift has certainly found me again. I'm full-fledged back, but the teaching has been a great reward. And I don't even advertise you have to be a Christian in my classes. You don't, but most likely you might become one. We pray together either before or after classes, but we do the authentic Stanislavski work. It's like a conservatory style online. I do in-person workshops. I did have my school in person when I began, and then the tornado hit me personally in 2020, and then COVID struck a week later, and then I was introduced to Zoom and online, and so it's going so well. I mean, I have multiple classes going on. Students are from all over the world. That's the beauty of online. But we work very hard, very seriously, and it really is like conservatory style. So it's working out beautifully. And again, it's such a great reward to give to these students. I have students of all levels from all over, as I said, working actors, really serious about the craft. It's not just a scene study. We dive very deep into the work. And I'm truly honored to say a lot of them mostly are Christians. The Lord has just set it up that way. But I wanted to really create an atmosphere that is Christian, because I promise God I will always honor Him in these classes. There's no swear words. There's no dark material. You don't have to do all that to dive deep into the craft. But I also bring special guests in that are members to to the Actor Studio in New York. We just had recently Armando Sante. We're going to have Viola Davis join us. We're going to have Al Pacino join us. So I call on people that know the work and work the process this way. But on my website, I have a list of people that have joined us. So it's really just been awesome to see how God's growing it and how he's allowing me to bring people in. I really just had Larry Moss in too. He's an A-list acting coach that comes from my training. And he teaches people like Hilary Swank, Leo DiCaprio, the list just goes on. And he came in and parted with them as well, because we're working through his book in my 12-week intensive course. I have a couple of different types of courses. So I'm in there learning along with everyone else. It's just so cool.
Now, what is it called? The Nashville, what is it? Nashville Method
Acting?
Acting?
Nashville Studio of Method Acting. I purposely keep that word in because there's a lot of myths about method. And I've learned that it's hearsay and a lack of knowledge when I ask people, what do they know about method or what they think it might be? So it's the Nashville Studio of Method Acting.
Okay. Now, for those that are watching that may not know what method acting is or may think they know, explain just what is method acting 101, if you could.
Method acting is just that. I think I will quote Ellen Bernstein. Ellen Bernstein she's in her 90s, and Al Pacino and Alec Baldwin are on the board of the Actor Studio. She's the head now. What she says method acting is it's just that. It's a method to your work. It's nothing more. It's a method to your work. The misconceptions is that you have to become a character. We don't become a character. Marlon Brando has said that we can't become a character. We can bring life to a character if we learn the character and we honor the writer to understand why the writer wrote what they wrote, the reason behind it, and then learn the life of the character. But I can't become you. I can portray you by asking you questions about you, learning the life of you, and then do the best that I can to create that. The other myth is that you have to stay in character all the time. That's not what we're taught either. So that's another myth. It's a method to the work. And there are tools and techniques that bring you to be able to dive deeper to create that character. So that, in a nutshell, that's really what method acting is. Under the umbrella, and I've studied with them all, would be Lee Strasberg, Sandy Meisner, Stella Adler, and Uta Hagen. And Jack Waltzer says it best. I give it all to you, and you choose what works for you. And that's exactly what I do. I do not say there's one way to get to the work. You'll get a little bit of all of that in my classes. And then you find your way when you're given these techniques, what's working for you, and then you use it.
So if there's someone watching that wants to get into the acting business and be a great actor or actress, what would you tell them is the first step?
Get classes. Yeah, you just have to be serious.
Right.
I'm not a scene study class. It's not where you just come on and we do scenes. And the only thing I might ask is, what's your objective? This is really diving deep into the work. So it's a process. You're learning a process. You have to be willing to do that work if you come into my classes. And that includes reading full scripts, not just sides or your part, or, it's not just the moment before what's happening in the moment after. It's about the moment before, but it's about the whole life of the character, not just the moment before. So it's a lot deeper. So I just say, join classes that will help you to grow in your craft, for sure. And it's very important to check out who's teaching, know what their track record is and their background. Very important for anyone starting in acting. You need to really understand and know the qualifications of the teacher.
You said you never really thought that you would become a teacher as well. What you said, God called you to that. How did all that happen?
Geez. I decided one time to teach a commercial course. It was like well, I condensed it, but it was a 6-week commercial course that I had done many times in New York. And someone had asked me if I do it, and I said, sure, I can do that because I have everything that I needed for the course. So I did a commercial course. After the course, I started getting asked, do you teach? Will you teach? And I was like, no, no, no. And then something else happened. Someone approached me again, and I thought, well, I don't know, maybe I will. And so one thing leads to another. I always say activity breeds activity. And so just by saying yes to these couple of things, that door kept opening up for me. I kept saying yes to certain things. And the next thing I know, I was involved in teaching. And then I even got studio space that was given to me. And I thought, oh my gosh, and I was loving it. I was feeling it. And so I opened up the school from there. And then again, after the tornado hit, someone else had asked me if I would come on and do a show for them talking about acting. And I thought, well, what am I going to do for an hour about that? I don't have a clue what I'm going to say. And the hour went by like that. I was teaching about Stanislavski, about my craft, how I learned, just different things like that. And I started getting my phone blew up after and getting a bunch of messages. And I thought, I don't know how I could do it online. And then God opened that door again. My teacher, Jack Waltzer, who's literally in his 90s right now, still teaching, popped up one day and I could not believe it. And he said, anybody that ever was a student with him, he's giving a free workshop. Well, I'm like, wow, now I can see this. And Jack is still teaching.
Wow.
And so I went in there, and some of the people in my class were Gina Davis from in the day, Dustin Hoffman. Anyway, John Voight, they're all in this Zoom call. And in 5 minutes, there was no egos. It was just like being back in class. And I'm such a visual learner. And as I'm watching and we're participating and we started doing some exercises, I was like, I can do this. Wow, I can do this in Zoom and keep it authentic. And so that's what really opened that door for me to be able to do it online was Jack. And so I've been doing it like that since, and I'm loving every minute of it. I have 3 classes going a week right now on top of working.
I was
So
going to say, so you do 3 of the Zoom type classes, and then what
yes.
else is it?
And we're
You do in
opening
studio?
up another area as well right now. I will not be teaching this particular class. I have someone qualified to do so. If anyone wants to get in our newsletter, we have a free newsletter with updates all the time. It comes out every Friday. And in the website, or you can email me now for it at tinagallo30@gmail.com, but it will be a link in the website, and you can just click on that and subscribe for your newsletter to come to you. But it will be announced in there as well. She is going to be teaching a teen class. So I think it's going to be like from 12, maybe preteen 12-year-olds to 15 or 16-year-olds as well. It'll be an intro to the technique. And Victoria will be teaching that, and she's very skilled to do so.
Do these fill up pretty fast?
Oh yeah, I have a waiting. Yes, absolutely. It's exploding.
Oh, that's
It's actually
great.
exploding. I also offer 101s now. That's for anybody. I've always done that anyway, but I always kept it for my students. Normally they're wanting to do maybe an audition, or we're working on, because we really dive deep into script analysis and character analysis, really deep. And so sometimes they want more personal attention with that, or more personal attention with sense memory work, whatever it may be. But now I've opened it up. So I'm doing one-on-ones for anything you might really feel that you need to work on. But, script analysis, character analysis, conversations about the business, reels, headshots, whatever it may be. And I have to brag a little bit too about it, just on this one. We have a private Facebook group as well. Couple of directors in there, but mostly, it's all students. It's our group, but we are a group of people. It's like a family. It's such a wonderful community. You can get a reader in there if you're a student and you need a reader for an audition. They're all ready to jump in and available. Phenomenal actors. We post and always promote you and what you're doing, either in the newsletter, but we want you to share what you're doing in the group page. I post videos that are pertaining to the classes that I teach during the weeks, and, you know, probably A-list actors, and put videos in that are talking about the same process that we do in classes that validate. So it's just a wonderful family-oriented community. No judgment, no competition, and I absolutely love that.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, it really is.
So, tell us, what have you been working on recently? I know you're doing the teaching, you got your studio, and is there anything else out there that you're like, anything that you can tell us about?
Well, thank you for asking. Boy, you are getting me at a good season, at a good time. And I feel like it's just a favor of God, because in our industry, it's not always consistent. We're not always working. And it's such a blessing when you get to do what you love, and you like and enjoy the projects that you're being invited to be a part of. And I am in that season of favor right now. I have a production team as well. It's a group of us ladies. There's 5 of us. We have a production company which is called Tri-Light Pictures, and it's a group of wonderful girls that God has brought us together. Truly, we've been working together for a couple of years now, and we have a great writer, producers, just the whole team of us gals. We come together and we pray together once a week. But we also have a project that we're working on currently, and it's called Crowning Lori. And this is my co-star, Candace
Yes.
Kilpatrick. Candace is playing Victoria. I'm playing Lori. And we also have Karen Abercrombie. You know, might
Mhm.
know her from War Room. And Lisa Arnold is going to be the director. She's been a director to God's Not Dead and so many other wonderful projects. She's fabulous to work with. We have a really nice team. And if anybody, first of all, we always welcome and ask for prayers as support. That's number one. There's so
Absolutely.
much power in prayer. And if you'd like to support us in any other way, monetarily, there is no amount too small, ever, because I tell my son, children growing up, pennies add to nickels, nickels add to quarters, quarters add to dollars, right? So no amount's too small. And there's a lot of wonderful perks that go along with it. So if you're interested, you can go on the website, crownandlorimovie.com, and just kind of go in there and see what we have. It'll tell you a little bit about the movie, but I will read you our little tag line
Yes.
here. An ex-pageant queen in midlife chaos competes for a job with her seemingly perfect former rival, and must choose between sabotaging her or lifting her up. And it's honestly about 2 beauty queens where things begin to get ugly.
Ooh,
Past beauty
drama.
queens. It's considered a dramedy, but it's very heartwarming. It has a
Okay.
wonderful message. It's a movie for women, about women, by women, and we're really, really proud of it. It's a great script. Anyone that reads the script will love it. And it's really for men as well. It's family friendly all the way around. But I think a lot of women can identify with a lot of the characters that are in this film. And it's very heartwarming, as I said, as well. And I think our writer, who is Shelley Pino, did a fabulous job in bringing that all to light in this script. So once again, any which way you would love to support us, we so appreciate it. We're so proud of it. And we can't wait to get those cameras rolling, which should be happening soon.
See, is there anything that you would tell someone out there that's either in the industry or wanting to get in the industry, um, that's just doesn't know, other than taking classes and stuff, um, you know, how do they find good parts and good auditions after they've taken these classes? I know there's a million questions. We could go all day long on that, but what would be the top 1 or 2 things of advice you'd tell somebody besides classes and stuff?
Before coming into the industry, you really have to do your research, because this is not an overnight thing.
Right.
Acting is hard, and you continue to train. Really, an established actor, it takes about 10 years. And Armand DeSanti, as I said, just joined us, but he talks about the same thing. And he was talking about how many times you can see in the movie and TV industry a brilliant actor and then all of a sudden they disappear. You've seen them in a brilliant movie. They were brilliant in a movie or, film or TV, and then they disappear. And he said the reason for that is they don't have the foundation and to have the confidence, the foundation of the process. It's a process. So what you do is after you're studying or while you're studying, we have social media sites, obviously, and sites that you can go to find auditions, one of them being Actors Access. There's a few out there, acting networks, and you can find auditions on there. But, there's a process. It's always good to have representation after you have a reel and you have headshots and you have a resume and you begin building. You want to get a good agent that will represent you and work for you. Not where you're just put into a pool, but you need to be with someone that's actually going to work with you. And then you have to have a commitment and dedication, because it's not easy. And a lot of times when you audition, you might not get feedback at all. And it can really play a game on you. And a lot of times when you're starting out, might handle it as rejection. I personally don't. It's always something that we're building towards, learning from as well. But you have to really stay committed and have a commitment and know that you're called to it. Because if you don't, it can really play mind games on you and, begin to break down your spirit. And so I say enjoy the journey, but it becomes a lifestyle because there's so many actors. And but I do know this: if you stay dedicated and you stay committed and you do the work, it will pay off. That I do know.
That is great advice. Absolutely. And I've interviewed a lot of actors, actresses, and directors and writers and stuff, and a lot of them will say, stay determined, stay focused.
Absolutely.
It's easy to get unfocused and undetermined for those, but if you keep that determination, like you said,
well, and you have to know this is, I go back to Armand because it was such a great time that he spent with us teaching. Actually, if anybody wants that link, they can just reach out to me. He's given me permission to do that. It's perfect for directors too. But, you have to know, it has to be in you. You have to know that you are really called to this. And that no matter what, you have to do it. It's part of who you are, and be willing to do it for no money even. Like, you have to have a love for this.
Right.
And that is why you do it. It's not to become and win the Oscar or win awards and all of that. That's a luxury that might come with it because you're doing the work. But you have to be focused about the craft and the work. Those other things are just the luxury of it. But if you're willing to do it because you just love it, then most likely you will do very well.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Tina, so much for sharing a bit of your journey and your life with us. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for having me as your guest, Jeffrey. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Absolutely.